Admiral Thexra walked across the metal floor of his command ship. His long blue arms moved as he studied the big screen in front of him. On the screen was a small planet. It looked blue and green and white. This planet was called Earth by the Yao, creatures who lived there. The Admiral had been planning this attack for his whole life. His father had planned it before him. His grandfather, too. For 100 years, the Velkari Empire had been getting ready to take over Earth. Thexra stopped, walking, and looked at his second officer. Commander Velthos was reading reports at his station. The commander was young but smart. He had studied the humans for 10 years. "Commander, show me the human cities again," Thexra said. Velthos pressed buttons on his control panel. The screen changed. Now it showed pictures of Earth cities. There were millions of humans walking in the streets. They drove cars that moved on wheels. They flew in metal machines that had wings like birds. "The humans are weak, Admiral," Velthos said. "They fight each other all the time. We have watched them have two big wars. They kill their own kind with simple weapons. Bullets and bombs that explode." Thexra nodded. The Velkari had been watching Earth since 1924. They had secret spies hiding on the planet. These spies sent information back to the Velkari homeworld every month. The reports all said the same thing. Humans were not advanced. They had no energy shields. Their weapons were basic. Their ships could not travel between stars. "What about their armies?" Thexra asked. "Small and divided," Velthos answered. "Each country has its own army. They do not work together. The biggest armies have maybe 1,000,000 soldiers. We have 50 million warriors ready for battle." The Admiral smiled. His sharp teeth showed. The Velkari were natural hunters. They were bigger than humans. Stronger, too. Each Velkari warrior could fight 10 humans and win. But this would not be a fair fight. The Velkari had technology that humans could not imagine. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days. Their weapons could destroy mountains. Their shields could stop any human attack. Thexra walked to another part of the command center. Here his war planners were working. They had maps of every human city. They knew where the humans kept their weapons. They knew where their leaders lived and worked. "General Kexaval, report," Thexra said to his chief planner. General Kexaval stood up. He was old and had scars from many battles. "Admiral, everything is ready. We will attack 50 cities at the same time. The human governments will fall in the first hour. Their armies will surrender by the end of the first day." The general pointed to the maps. "Look here, this is New York. 8 million humans live there. We will land 300 ships in their central area. The humans call it Manhattan. From there we can control their whole country. And here," the general pointed to another map. "This is London. This is where their old empire started. When we take London, other countries will be afraid to fight us." Thexra looked at more maps. Seoul in Korea, Tokyo in Japan, Paris in France, Moscow in Russia. Every major human city was marked for attack. "What about their military bases?" the Admiral asked. "We know where they all are," Kexval answered. "The humans keep their flying machines at big open areas they call airports. They keep their ships at ports near the water. They have some weapons hidden underground, but our scanners have found them all." Velthos joined the conversation. "Admiral, I have been studying their communications. The humans use radio waves and something called the Internet. When we attack, we will jam all their signals. They will not be able to talk to each other or call for help." Thexra felt proud. His people had planned everything perfectly. They had studied human weapons, human culture, human psychology. They knew that humans became afraid when they were attacked. They knew that human leaders often ran away instead of fighting. The Velkari fleet was ready. 50,000 ships waited in space near their home planet. Each ship carried weapons that could level a human city. The smallest Velkari fighter was more powerful than the biggest human bomber. "How long will the conquest take?" Thexra asked. 6 hours, Admiral, General, Kexaval said with confidence. "Maybe less. The humans have never fought an enemy from space. They have never seen weapons like ours. They will surrender quickly when they see our power." Thexra walked back to the main screen. He looked at Earth again. Such a small planet. Such weak creatures living on it. But Earth had something the Velkari needed: water, clean air, good soil for growing food. The Velkari homeworld was dying. Their sun was getting old and cold. They needed a new planet to live on. The humans would make good slaves. They were not strong, but they were good at building things. They could work in the mines and factories. The smart ones could fix machines and grow food. Begin the final preparations, Thexra ordered. Signal all ships to charge their weapons and shields. Set course for Earth. Around him, his crew started working. Lights flashed on control panels. The big engines of the command ship began to warm up. In space around the ship, thousands of other Velkari vessels did the same thing. Commander Velthos walked up to the Admiral. "Sir, the fleet report's ready. All weapons charged, all shields at full power. The jump to Earth space will take 4 hours." Thexra smiled again. Soon the Velkari Empire would have a new world. The humans would learn what it meant to fight a superior species. This would not be like the small wars humans fought against each other. This would be conquest by a race that had conquered dozens of other worlds. "Begin the jump," Thexra commanded. The stars outside the ship began to stretch and blur. The Velkari fleet entered hyperspace. In 4 hours, they would arrive at Earth. In 6 hours, the planet would belong to them. Thexra did not know that he was making the biggest mistake in the history of his species. He did not know that Earth was not the weak, primitive world his spies had reported. He did not know that the humans had been preparing for this day just as long as the Velkari had. Most importantly, he did not know that his invasion fleet had only 6 minutes left to live. Lieutenant Jay Wook was flying his F-35 fighter jet over Seoul when the sky went dark. He looked up through his cockpit window and could not believe what he saw. Huge black ships were floating in the air above the city. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The ships were bigger than any building in Seoul. They blocked out the sun. Their metal hulls were dark gray and covered with strange symbols. Some of the ships were as long as 10 football fields. Others were small, maybe the size of a house, but they moved in perfect formations. Jay Wook had been a pilot for 8 years. He had flown in training exercises and practice battles, but he had never seen anything like this. His hands shook as he reached for his radio. "Control tower, this is Eagle 7, he said into his microphone. "I have unknown aircraft over Seoul, very large formations. They are not showing up on radar, please advise." The voice that answered him was calm and professional. It belonged to Colonel Hyun Soo, who was in charge of air defense for the Seoul region. "Eagle 7, we see them. All pilots return to base, immediately." "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Jae-wook turned his fighter jet around and headed for the airbase. As he flew, he saw more alien ships appearing over other parts of the city. The people on the streets below were pointing up at the sky. Some were taking pictures with their phones. Others were running for cover. But something was strange. The people were not panicking the way Jae-wook expected. Instead of screaming and running in all directions, they seemed to know what to do. Groups of people were walking quickly toward subway entrances and underground parking garages. At Seoul Air Base, Colonel Hyun-soo was standing in the command center watching dozens of computer screens. Each screen showed a different view of the alien ships. His staff officers were working at their stations, talking quietly into headsets and typing on keyboards. Captain Seo Jin was sitting at the communication station. She was wearing headphones and listening to radio messages from around the world. "Colonel," she said, "similar ships are appearing over major cities everywhere. London, New York, Tokyo, Moscow, all reporting the same thing." Hyun-soo nodded. This was exactly what they had been expecting. For 30 years, he had been part of a secret program. The program had one job: prepare for alien invasion. "Activate Independence Day Protocol," Hyun-soo ordered. "Send the activation code to all units worldwide." Seo Jin typed a series of numbers and letters into her computer. Within seconds, air raid sirens began wailing across Seoul. The sound was loud and urgent. People who were still on the streets immediately headed for the nearest underground shelter. Similar sirens were going off in cities around the world. In London, New York, Tokyo, and 50 other major cities. Emergency broadcast systems came to life. Television shows stopped. Radio programs ended. Instead, calm voices spoke in many different languages. Attention citizens, this is an emergency broadcast. Alien spacecraft have appeared over major cities worldwide. This is not a test. Please proceed to the nearest designated shelter immediately. Stay calm and follow the instructions of emergency personnel. Admiral Thexera stood on the bridge of his command ship, floating 2 kilometers above downtown Seoul. He was watching the human response through his ship's cameras. Something was wrong. The humans were not acting the way his intelligence reports said they would. Commander Velthos, he called. Why are the humans so organized? Our report said they would panic and run in confusion. Velthos was studying his own screens. I do not understand, Admiral. They seem to have prepared for this. Look at how quickly they activated those warning sirens, and see how the civilians are moving in orderly groups toward underground areas. On his screen, Velthos could see people entering subway stations and underground shopping centers. But these people were not just hiding. They were carrying emergency bags that looked like they had been packed in advance. Children were walking with their parents without crying or being afraid. This is not possible, Thexera said. Our spies reported no preparation for invasion. The humans were supposed to be caught by surprise. Captain Seo Jin, in her underground command center, was monitoring alien communications. The Velkari did not know that humans had learned to understand their language 20 years ago. She could hear their confusion as they talked to each other. Colonel, she reported to Hyun-soo, the aliens are surprised by our response. They expected panic. They are discussing whether to begin their attack early. Hyun-soo looked at his watch. It had been 3 minutes since the alien ships appeared. How long until the defensive grid is fully activated? Major Jin Woo, who was operating the weapons control station, checked his computer. 2 more minutes, sir. All railgun installations. Report 90% ready. Orbital defense platforms are coming online now. Above Seoul, Lieutenant Jae-wook landed his fighter jet and ran toward the command building. As he ran, he saw something that made him stop and stare. Large metal structures were rising out of the ground near the runway. They looked like huge gun barrels pointing up at the sky. These weapons had been hidden underground for 25 years. They were railguns that could fire metal projectiles faster than anything humans had ever built before. The projectiles could travel at 15% of the speed of light. Similar weapons were appearing near cities around the world. In the Nevada desert, massive installations rose from fake rock formations. In the Siberian wilderness, platforms emerged from beneath what looked like normal forest. Under the Pacific Ocean, submarine-sized battle platforms surfaced for the first time. Admiral Thexera received reports from his scouts positioned around the globe. Admiral, the humans have weapons we did not detect. Large energy signatures are appearing near every major city. Unknown technology. Thexera felt the first touch of concern. How is this possible? We have been watching this planet for 100 years. Where did these weapons come from? Commander Velthos had no answer. The intelligence network had been completely fooled. Earth was not the primitive world they thought it was. On Earth, President Mi-young was in a secure bunker beneath Seoul. She was on a video call with the leaders of every major nation on Earth. All of them looked calm and ready. The time has come, she said to the other leaders. 100 years of preparation, 100 years of sacrifice and secrecy. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. The alien ships began to glow with energy as they prepared to attack. But they had no idea that Earth was ready for them. More than ready. At exactly 2:32 in the afternoon, Seoul time, the Velkari began their attack. Admiral Thexera had decided to show the humans what real power looked like. He wanted them to be afraid before they surrendered. Fire warning shots at their major gathering places, he ordered. Target the areas with the most humans, use minimum power. We want to scare them, not destroy everything. Bright blue energy beams shot down from the alien ships. In Seoul, the beams aimed at the busy downtown shopping district. In London, they targeted the area around Big Ben and Parliament. In New York, the energy blasts headed straight for Times Square. The Velkari expected to see buildings explode and humans running in terror. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beams hit invisible walls in the air and disappeared. Shimmering barriers appeared around each target area, glowing bright blue for a few seconds before fading away. The buildings were completely undamaged. Not a single window was broken. Captain Minho was sitting in a control room 200 meters, underground beneath Seoul. His job was to operate the city's defensive shield system. He spoke calmly into his headset while watching his computer screens. Shield grid holding at 100% power, he reported. All energy from alien weapons absorbed and redirected. No damage to protected areas. Similar reports came from cities around the world. London's shields were working perfectly. New York's barriers had stopped every energy blast. Tokyo, Moscow, Paris. Every major city on Earth was protected by invisible force fields. Admiral Thexra stared at his screens, in shock. How is this possible? The humans have shield technology? Our intelligence report said nothing about defensive barriers. Commander Velthos was frantically checking his data. Admiral, this technology is more advanced than our own shields. Our weapons had no effect at all. On Earth, Major Jinwoo was sitting at his weapons control station. He had been waiting for this moment his entire career. Now it was time to show the aliens what humans could really do. Defensive phase complete, he announced to his team. Beginning counterattack in 3 seconds, 2-1 fire. Around the world, weapons that had been hidden for decades suddenly revealed themselves. From underground silos near Seoul, massive railguns emerged and fired. Each weapon launched a tungsten projectile the size of a telephone pole. These were not ordinary bullets or missiles. The railguns used magnetic fields to accelerate the metal projectiles to incredible speeds. The tungsten rods traveled at 50,000 kilometers per second, 15% of the speed of light. The Valkyrie had shields that could stop energy weapons. They had armor that could survive missile attacks. But they had never prepared for solid metal objects moving at near light speed. Sergeant Dayon was tracking the projectiles from her computer station. She watched as the first tungsten rods reached the alien ships floating over Seoul. Direct hits on targets Alpha through Zulu, she reported. Enemy shields show no effect against kinetic weapons. The tungsten rods hit the Valkyrie ships like invisible hammers. The alien vessels didn't just take damage, they exploded completely. The kinetic energy was so enormous that each ship turned into a ball of fire and metal fragments. In 3 seconds, 20 Valkyrie ships over Seoul were destroyed. Similar attacks happened over every city on Earth. Railgun installations that had been hidden under deserts, forests, and mountains all fired at the same time. Admiral Thexra felt his command ship shake as projectiles passed close by. Around him, his fleet was being torn apart. Ships that had taken decades to build were disappearing in flashes of light. "Shields are useless," Velthos shouted over the noise of explosions. "The projectiles go right through our energy barriers. How are the humans doing this?" Thexra did not have time to answer. His communications officer was receiving desperate calls from ship captains around the world. "Admiral, we have lost 40% of the fleet. Human weapons are destroying our ships faster than we can count them. Admiral, this is Captain Zexmore over Tokyo. My squadron is gone. All ships destroyed, requesting immediate retreat. Admiral, the London attack force is completely eliminated. What are your orders?" For the first time in his life, Thexra felt real fear. This was not supposed to happen. The humans were primitive. They had simple weapons and no space technology. But somehow they were winning. On Earth, Major Jinwoo was coordinating the global counterattack. Phase 1 complete, he announced. Enemy fleet reduced by 45%, initiating Phase 2. Phase 2 was even more shocking than Phase 1. From beneath the Pacific Ocean, cylindrical objects began breaking the surface. They looked like submarines at first, but they were much larger. Each one was the size of a city block. These were not submarines. They were mobile weapons platforms that had been built in secret underwater factories. As they rose from the ocean, their true size became clear. They were floating cities of metal and guns. Commander Velthos watched through his ship's cameras as dozens of these massive platforms appeared in oceans around the world. "Admiral, new contacts rising from the water. They are huge. Each one is the size of one of our battleships. But the biggest surprise was still coming. Colonel Sun Young was aboard a ship that had been hidden in an asteroid belt beyond Mars for 15 years. Her fleet of 200 vessels had been waiting patiently for this day. "This is Admiral Sun Young to all ships," she said into her communication system. "Decloak and move to attack positions." Around the Velkari fleet, space itself seemed to ripple and bend. Suddenly, human ships appeared from nowhere. They had been invisible, hiding using cloaking technology that made them impossible to detect. The human ships were sleek and fast. They looked nothing like the primitive aircraft the Velkari had seen in their intelligence reports. Each ship bristled, with weapons that the aliens did not recognize. Admiral Thexra found himself surrounded. Above Earth, below Earth, and around his fleet in space, human weapons were everywhere. His mighty invasion force was trapped. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The humans were supposed to be defenseless." Captain Minho, still operating Seoul's defenses, opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. When he spoke, he used perfect Velkari language. "Velkari fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You have 60 seconds to surrender or withdraw. If you do not comply, we will deploy additional countermeasures." The alien bridge fell silent. Not only did the humans have superior weapons, they could speak Velkari language perfectly. They had known about the invasion all along. Admiral Thexra's mind was racing as he tried to understand what was happening. The human who had just spoken to him had used perfect Velkari language, not just simple words, but complex military terms that even some Velkari officers did not know well. "Commander Velthos," Thexra said quietly, "how do the humans know our language?" Velthos was checking his communications equipment, hoping it was broken. "I do not know, Admiral. Our language has never been transmitted to Earth. Our spies were ordered to learn human languages, not teach ours." Around them, the battle continued. More Velkari ships were exploding every second. The human railguns fired continuously, sending tungsten projectiles through alien shields as if they did not exist. The Velkari fleet, which had seemed so powerful an hour ago, was being destroyed piece by piece. On Earth, Major Jinwoo was watching the battle from his underground command center. His screen showed alien ships burning in the atmosphere above. 50 cities. The plan was working perfectly. "Status report," he requested from his team. 60% of the alien fleet destroyed, reported Lieutenant Boram from her tracking station. "Remaining ships are trying to retreat, but our orbital platforms have them surrounded." "What about the big ships?" Jinwoo asked. Sergeant Tae Hyun, who was monitoring the largest alien vessels, pointed to his screen. "The alien command ships are still operational, but they are not fighting back anymore. They seem to be in shock." This was exactly what Earth's military leaders had hoped for. They did not want to completely destroy the alien fleet. They wanted some survivors to go back home and tell other alien species what had happened here. Colonel Sun Young was aboard her flagship in space, watching the Velkari fleet try to escape. Her ships had completely surrounded the aliens. Every time a Velkari vessel tried to run away, human ships appeared in front of it. "This is Admiral Sun Young. To the Velkari fleet," she broadcast on their emergency frequency. "You are surrounded. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships cannot outrun ours. Surrender now, and your crews will not be harmed." Admiral Thexra received the message and felt something he had never experienced before: total defeat. Not just losing a battle, but the complete destruction of everything he believed about his own species' superiority. "Admiral," Velthos said nervously, "we should contact the homeworld. The Empire needs to know what happened here." Thexra activated his long-range communication system. Within minutes, he was speaking directly to the Velkari High Council on Arlai, their home planet. "High Council, this is Admiral Thexra. The invasion of Earth has failed. The humans were prepared for our attack. They have weapons and technology superior to ours." The voice of High Chancellor Morthak came through the speakers. "Admiral, explain yourself. You have the most powerful fleet in Velkari history. How can primitive humans defeat you?" "They are not primitive," Thexra answered. They have been hiding their true capabilities. They have energy shields, kinetic weapons that can destroy our ships instantly, and a space fleet that outnumbers ours. They speak our language and knew we were coming. There was a long silence from the High Council. Finally, Morthak spoke again. How is this possible? Our intelligence network has been monitoring Earth for 100 years. On Earth, Agent Sungmin was sitting in a comfortable office in the city of Busan. He had been listening to the alien communications since the battle began. For 30 years, his job had been to manage Earth's greatest secret operation. Sungmin picked up his secure telephone and called General Park, the head of Earth's intelligence services. General, they are asking about their intelligence network. Should I tell them? Yes, General Park replied. It is time they knew the truth. Sungmin activated a radio transmitter that could reach the Velkari fleet in space. When he spoke, he used the same perfect Velkari language that had shocked the aliens earlier. Admiral Thexra, this is Agent Sungmin of Earth Intelligence. I believe I can answer your questions about your spy network. The alien bridge fell silent again. A human on Earth was calling their flagship directly. For 100 years, your spies have been sending you information about Earth, Sungmin continued. Everything they told you was carefully planned false information. We have known about your agents since the day they arrived. Every report they sent, every photograph they took, every measurement they made. We controlled all of it. Admiral, Thexra felt sick. You mean, yes, Admiral. Your entire intelligence network has been working for us. We showed you exactly what we wanted you to see. Primitive weapons, divided governments, weak defenses. All lies. While you spent 100 years planning to invade a helpless world, we spent 100 years preparing to destroy your fleet. Commander Velthos was staring at his instruments, in disbelief. Admiral, if the humans have been planning for 100 years, what else do they have hidden? As if to answer his question, new contacts began appearing on Velkari sensors. From behind the moon, a massive human space station moved into view. It was the size of a small moon, covered with weapon systems and ship construction facilities. Similar stations appeared near Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Earth had not just built a defensive fleet. They had constructed an entire secret space civilization. Asteroid mining stations, orbital factories, and military bases that had been invisible to Velkari sensors. Colonel Hyun-soo, still coordinating Earth's defenses from Seoul, opened another communication channel to the alien fleet. Admiral Thexra, you now see why your invasion was doomed from the beginning. Earth is not the primitive world your spies reported. We are a spacefaring civilization that chose to remain hidden until threatened. But your people on the planet, Thexra protested. They live in simple cities. They use basic transportation. They fight with chemical explosives. That is what we wanted you to see, Hyun-soo replied. Our real cities are underground and in space. Our real technology is hidden from anyone who might misuse it. Your invasion has forced us to reveal ourselves earlier than we planned. President Mi-young, speaking from her secure bunker, addressed the alien fleet directly. Admiral, Earth offers you one chance to survive. Surrender your remaining ships. Your crews will be treated humanely and return to your homeworld with a message for your government. What message? Thexra asked. That Earth is under the protection of humanity, Mi-young answered. Any species that attacks us will face the same fate as your fleet. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war. Admiral Thexra looked around. His damaged bridge. Half of his fleet was destroyed. The survivors were surrounded and outgunned. His species' reputation as galactic conquerors had been shattered in less than 6 minutes of actual fighting. He activated his surrender beacon. At exactly 2:36 in the afternoon, Seoul time, 6 minutes after the invasion began, Admiral Thexra activated his fleet's surrender signal. The bright yellow light that flashed from his command ship could be seen from orbit. It was the universal sign that meant, we give up. General Bora, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, was aboard her flagship above the Pacific Ocean. She had been waiting her whole life for this moment. Her ship was 3 times larger than the biggest Velkari vessel, but it had been invisible until now. This is General Bora to all human forces, she announced. The alien fleet has surrendered. Cease fire on all targets. Begin recovery operations for enemy survivors. Around the Earth, the railguns stopped shooting. The mobile ocean platforms lowered their weapons. In space, the human fleet moved into protective formations around the remaining alien ships. Commander Velthos was standing beside Admiral Thexra on the bridge of their damaged command ship. Through the windows, they could see human ships approaching. The alien officers were amazed at how advanced the human vessels looked. Admiral, Velthos said quietly, these ships are beautiful. Look at their design, so smooth and efficient. Our engineers will want to study them. Thexra shook his head sadly. I do not think we will be allowed to study anything, Commander. We came here as conquerors. Now we are prisoners. A new voice came through their communication system. It belonged to Captain Dongwu, commander of the human ship that was approaching their vessel. Velkari Command Ship, this is Captain Dongwu of the Earth Defense Ship Harmony. Prepare to be boarded. We are bringing medical supplies for your wounded and food for your crew. You will not be harmed if you cooperate. Minutes later, human soldiers in advanced spacesuits floated through airlocks into the Velkari ship. But these were not the primitive, aggressive humans that Velkari intelligence had described. The soldiers were polite and professional. They carried medical equipment and emergency supplies. Lieutenant Haiwan, leading the boarding team, approached Admiral Thexra. She removed her helmet and spoke in perfect Velkari language. Admiral, I am Lieutenant Haiwan of Earth Defense Forces. Are there wounded crew members who need medical attention? Thexra was surprised by the question. You are offering to help our wounded, but we attacked your planet. Yes, you did, Haiwan replied. But the fighting is over now. Wounded beings need medical care, regardless of which side they were fighting on. This is how humans behave in war. While human medical teams helped injured Velkari soldiers, other events were happening around the galaxy. News of the failed invasion was spreading faster than light through quantum communication networks that connected hundreds of alien civilizations. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Chancellor Vexina was reading reports of the battle. Impossible, she said to her military advisors. The Velkari had the most powerful fleet in this sector of the galaxy. How could humans destroy them so quickly? Her chief intelligence officer, General Morcath, was studying data that had just arrived from the battle zone. Chancellor, the humans have technology we have never seen before. Kinetic weapons that move at significant fractions of light speed, energy shields that can absorb any attack, and they have been hiding this technology for over a century. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of alien worlds. Species that had been considering their own invasions of Earth were suddenly reconsidering their plans. Back on Earth, President Mi-young was holding a meeting with world leaders in her secure bunker. The holographic displays around the room showed alien ships surrendering in orbit and human forces taking control of the situation. The immediate threat is over, she announced to the other leaders. But this changes everything. We can no longer hide our true capabilities from the galaxy. Prime Minister Chen of China nodded. The secret is out. Other alien species will know that Earth is not the primitive world they thought it was. That might be a good thing, said President Williams of the United States. Maybe now they will leave us alone. Foreign Minister Tanaka of Japan looked worried. Or maybe they will unite against us. 100 species working together could be more dangerous than one species attacking alone. President Mi-young had considered this possibility. That is why we must be smart about what happens next. We need to show the galaxy that we are powerful enough to defend ourselves, but not aggressive enough to threaten others. General Bora's voice came through the communication system. Madam President, we have secured all surviving alien vessels. Total Velkari casualties, 43,000 killed, 12,000 wounded, 8,000 surrendered uninjured. Human casualties, 0. The leader sat in stunned silence. 0 human casualties. The most powerful alien fleet in known space had been completely defeated without losing a single human life. General, President Mi-young asked, what is the status of their homeworld communication? The Velkari High Council has been informed of the defeat, General Bora replied. They are requesting permission to negotiate for the return of their surviving crew members. 3 days later, A small human fleet arrived at the Velkari homeworld. The ships were commanded by Admiral Sun Young, who had volunteered for what might be the most dangerous diplomatic mission in human history. The Velkari government was in chaos. News of the failed invasion had caused riots on multiple worlds. The Velkari Empire, which had controlled dozens of planets for thousands of years, was falling apart. High Chancellor Morthak met with Admiral Sun Young in the Velkari capital city. The alien leader looked tired and defeated. "Admiral, the Velkari Empire formally surrenders to Earth. We will pay any reparations you demand. We will accept any terms you offer." Sun Young shook her head. "Chancellor, Earth does not want to rule the Velkari Empire. We want peace. We are returning your surviving crew members and offering to help your government maintain stability." Morthak was confused. "You could conquer our worlds easily. Your technology is superior to ours. Why are you not taking advantage of your victory?" "Because that is not who we are," Sun Young replied. "Humans fight when we are threatened, but we do not conquer others for power. We want to live in peace with our neighbors." The treaty that was signed that day became known throughout the galaxy as the Earth Accords. It established several important principles. Earth would not attack other worlds unless threatened first. Earth would share some basic technologies with peaceful species, and Earth would protect any world that was attacked by aggressive empires. Within 10 years of the 6-Minute War, the Velkari Empire had completely collapsed. Some of their worlds joined the new Galactic Federation that Earth helped create. Others became independent, peaceful nations. Admiral Thexra, after spending 2 years in comfortable detention on Earth, returned to his homeworld as a changed being. He spent the rest of his life teaching young Velkari about the dangers of underestimating other species and the importance of peace over conquest. The failed invasion of Earth became a legend throughout the galaxy. Military academies on 100 worlds taught courses about the battle, analyzing how the most powerful fleet in known space had been completely destroyed in just 6 minutes. But the most important lesson was simpler than military tactics or advanced weapons. It was about the power of preparation, the value of patience, and the strength that comes from unity in the face of danger. Earth had spent 100 years getting ready for war while hoping for peace. When war finally came, they were ready. And when victory was theirs, they chose mercy over revenge. This, more than any weapon or shield, was what made humanity truly powerful in the eyes of the galaxy.